Hello, Bradley Sowash here. I'm getting into the Christmas spirit this morning for this special live stream about how to play Christmas tunes by ear. The holiday season is a great time for playing Christmas tunes by ear. For one thing, if you're a student or a piano player, you want to play tunes that you recognize by ear. The hardest thing to do is, someone comes up to you on the gig and says, "Hey, do you know this tune?" "No, I don't." And well, I'll sing it to you and you can play it. It doesn't work very well. You really need to know the tunes. And everybody knows Christmas tunes. Everybody knows a few of them. So, they're really good tunes to play by ear because we know them so well. Kind of like nursery rhymes, except they're cooler than nursery rhymes. They're kind of, everybody loves Christmas tunes, but maybe Mary Had a Little Lamb is not their favorite tune to learn by ear. Secondly, it's great to know a few seasonal favorites so that when there's a piano nearby and you're at a festivity, you want to be able to pull these out. And sometimes you don't have your tote bag with you. And Grandma says, "Hey, I've been paying for your lessons and I'd love to hear some Christmas music." "I didn't bring my books, Grandma." That's not a good answer. You want to be able to play a few of these by ear. And then learning a tune by ear tends to fix them in the memory. If you learn a Christmas tune by ear, you will remember it next year. It's that when you read it, it kind of goes across your dashboard and disappears. But when you learn anything by ear, it'll stick more. So we're going to get started right here. First, I'm going to just talk about some of the stumbling blocks. A lot of times, people that want to play a tune by ear make a few mistakes right off the bat, and then they get frustrated. Let me just say a few people, 2% of the population can just do this sort of instinctively. They may have perfect pitch or a great memory or a real sense of intervallic relationships, and that can be easy. But for the rest of us, it's good to have some tools. And one of the mistakes people make is they just start singing and then look for those notes on the piano. So let's say I'm going to sing Silent Night. And I just, Silent Night, Holy Night, and I just find this pitch. Now I go to the piano and I pick around. That's an E. Silent night, silent. What? It doesn't sound good. What's wrong? See, I knew I was no good at this. I can't play by ear. I'm just not one of those people. And you walk away frustrated. Well, the reason that happened is I matched my voice I matched the piano to my voice. You need to go the other way around, at least the first time you finish, you figure out the tune. In other words, you got to get the key set in your head first. You can't just run over and start playing around, because maybe this turned out to be, it would be in the key of A if I started on that note. That was an E, and maybe I don't know how to play in the key of A, and I didn't know how to get there. So just get the key going in your head first. The easiest way to do that is just to play a scale. Since the white keys are easy on the piano, I'll play a C scale. And I might sing that a little bit. Da, 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 da. I get the tune in my ear. Sorry, the key in my ear. And now I sing the tune. I can hum or grunt the melody, and don't be worried about how you sound. All creative musicians hum and grunt and vocalize, that kind of connecting your voice to your piano playing is just normal. Some people get weird about it. I don't want to sing. You got to sing if you want to be creative. You don't have to do it in public, but you got to do it. So I'm going to. Okay, now what you want to do next is counterintuitive. You want to find the last note of the tune. The last note of the tune, because if it doesn't match C, the tonic or home note, you're probably in another key. So, sleep in heavenly peace. If that's not C or the tonic note, you need to readjust your hearing of the key. So start with that last note, make it match, because I can't hardly think of any exceptions to the rule that popular songs like Christmas tunes end on the tonic note. So now we have a match. We have our ear in the key, we have the tonic on the piano, and we have the last note of the tune lined up. Now, and this is what people do too soon, now we go to the first note of the tune. But we need to make it match the key. So Silent Night, sigh. Okay, I have no idea what that is, let's say. So I just hold that note in my voice and play the C scale. Sigh. No, that doesn't match. Sigh. No match. Oh, there it is. I match. Well, let's see. That's the fifth note. That's a G. Now I know that no matter what key I may transpose this to, I can remember that it starts on the 5th note, working out Silent Night. So I found that first note, and now I can hunt and peck the rest. If you get stuck, one of the simplest things to think about is, does it go up or down? Silent, oh, I hear it goes up. Silent night. Well, maybe I would not realize that's a bigger interval. Silent night. Oh, well, then you can go back to note, voice, piano matching. Silent night. There it is. Oh, there's a skip there. So you're going to use your voice, having the key established and knowing the last note and finding the first note. You're going to hunt and peck your way through it. And if you're completely stymied and you just aren't getting anywhere, you probably picked too difficult of a tune. So go back to a simpler tune. Do Jingle Bells or Joy to the World. Don't get lost in I don't know, a Ukrainian folk song or something like that. So if you really just lost, for those of you who are theory people, there might be a bunch of secondary dominants and stuff going on that's confusing your ear. And if you finding you need a lot of black keys, probably you need to do a simpler tune. So having found the last note of the tune, finding the first note of the tune, and having hunt and pecked, the next step is to memorize the melody. If you skip this step, then you're struggling to find the notes while you're going to put chords to it. So, work it all out, whatever it is. Okay, so the next step that we're going to talk about is how do you find the chords for that. The second of 4 steps is to harmonize the tune. And the way you do that is you look for chord tones in the melody. Most of the Christmas tunes can be played with just the primary chords, 1, 4, and 5, or C, F, and G. It's true that some of these Christmas tunes have some other chords in it, so maybe you're in the key of C, and there might be in some of those like a D7. That'd be a common chord. In fact, that's in Jingle Bells. But you don't have to do it that way. So if you're figuring this out in a simple way, most of these tunes, just stick to your 1, 4, and 5 chords, C, F, and G. So look for the chord tones between the C chord, the F chord, and the G chord. And here's an example. Here We Come A-Wassailing that really drives it home. The heavy beats, the down beats, and sometimes beat 3 will suggest the chord. You couldn't be clearer than this one. So I have C, D, to C, C. Lots of C's in there. I wonder if that's a C chord or an F chord or a G chord. It's just screaming for a C chord. So obviously C chord is the right one for that tune. You want to look for those chord tones in the melody, thinking, okay, I got C, that's C, E, G, F is F, A, C, and G is G, B, D, or you might be familiar with G7, so we would have G, B, D, F. Now you look for the strong beats and see if those line up. Here's an example. Jingle Bell starts on E. It's so clear that is the C chord because the C chord is the only chord out of C, F, and G that has an E in it. So very clearly, but sometimes it's not that clear. The next measure starts on an F. F, F, E, E. So there's an F in an F chord. But there's an F in a G7 chord. This is one of the reasons that I don't teach 7th chords right away when I'm teaching with younger students. So the F could be harmonized with an F chord. C, C chord. Here's an F chord. The F sounded pretty good, but maybe your ear is drawn to the G7 chord because G, B, D, F. That also has an F in it. Which do you like better? F and back to C, or do you like G7 back to C? It doesn't matter, because regardless of what you vote, I'm going to play the chord I like and you're going to play the chord you like. So there isn't a right one. The F note comes up, pick it. Is it G7? Is it F? Pick the one that you like. So sometimes you have to try it out. It's that simple. Now you combine the chords and the melody. So that's obvious. First time you're going to do that, if you're a beginner, you're going to just play those chords in your left hand as whole notes and the melody in your right. So here's an example of Deck the Halls with left hand block chords. So simple. And I already figured out ahead of time that this was a G7. some of you might be hearing more chords in there. Maybe it's... But I kept it really simple. So you hearing more chords? Put more chords in. But generally one per measure was enough for a beginner, right? So you hear more chords. Of course, you can always do that. Now we are at the end of part 2. So we worked out the melody, worked out the chords, and now it's time for the third step of learning a Christmas tune by ear is to bring some style to it, little like I just already did. And the style means plugging in a stock accompaniment that is according to your ability and taste. What I mean by a stock accompaniment is the kind of thing that any drum set player is familiar with. So you go out on a gig and you say to a drummer, you know, this is a swing tune. They know or if you say, you know, this is a kind of a Latin thing, a bossa, and they're going da 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 da, and this is a rock feel. They're just plugging in feels, and then they're customize them to the song, bring their own taste to it, and personalize it. But it begins with a stock pattern, and this is something that improvising pianists need to have in their bag of tricks to be able to pull out some stock patterns. And then you just plug them in. It's not really all that creative at first. And people say, "You're so creative. How did you do that left hand?" Well, you knew a pattern. It's okay to cheat a little bit. So one of the simplest patterns that I teach for beginners is in this book that is published by Chose Music. I have a series called Creative Chords, where beginner pianists learn to read chord symbols and play from lead sheets. And one of the first patterns they learn is so simple. It's a long, short, short, long, short, short. Half, quarter, quarter, half, quarter. The idea is just to get used to playing a left-hand pattern that is repeating through your melody. That just reminds me, that's kind of the sound of the little drummer boy, isn't it? But that's not what I was going to do. I was going to show that pattern with a simpler tune, "O Come All Ye Faithful." So... Another not too difficult pattern is to play the standard boogie pattern. A lot of us already know this, but I'll show you here down on the piano. It looks like it is in the key of C. I would just play a C on the bottom and a G on top. I can put my second finger on that G, and then my thumb is ready for the A. So I have the C playing constantly. C, 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 and the top notes are going G, A, G, A. Put those together. If I get to a new chord such as F, I just move my pinky to the root of that. So I think a lot of us know that pattern. F, C, and D, or G. If the G is the chord, G, D, and E. So it's just a real easy pattern for piano players to grab onto, and it sounds pretty cool. So here's "Go Tell It on the Mountain" with a boogie bass. And then... Okay, so that syncopation in there is a great example of the kind of rhythm that a beginning piano player would have trouble reading but would have no trouble playing. It's one of the great advantages of working by ears. You can end up playing syncopations and things that would be hard to sort of count out, but you know how that song goes, so you play it the way you know it. So for an intermediate pianist, there's a couple of choices. Basically, I would advise playing broken chords. So you could do that with quarter notes. Here I'm playing C, E, G, E. I get to an F chord. Maybe it's only a half measure, so I only play 2 of the F notes. I'll play C and A. And then 2 of the G notes. Here's my point. If it's a 4-note pattern, and you have 2 notes, 2 chords in the measure, sometimes you don't have time for the whole chord. That works very beautifully, and it's kind of ceremonial, and there's nothing wrong with simple. We get in this mindset that the harder it is, the better it is. Not true. So pick the one that fits. Everybody knows Alberti bass. I'll just quickly touch on it. Bottom, top, middle, top. Bottom, top, middle, top, bottom, top. So that one gets played a lot. Another one is just to play broken 8th notes that can move up and down the chord. So here we have C, G, C. G, C, G, E. So I do a little turn on the top. G, C, G, E. we just move our hand. So I don't know, let's see what that would sound like with, let's get a different one. Let's see, let's try, that is all one chord. So, you know, just plugging in those lyrical things. And then the last thing you might try is a syncopated broken chord. So we're going to do like a Z. So in that case, I'm taking a broken chord or parts of a chord like the root and the fifth, sometimes the third, and just doing a syncopation. That's a little bit trickier. That's why I put it in an intermediate zone. And then if you're advanced, what we're going to do is you're going to move that harmony up to your right hand. You're going to take the chords from your left hand and put it with the melody, choosing the melody note, making sure the melody note's on top. So if we're going to play Angels We've Heard on High, the top note is an E. I'm going to hang some notes down under that are in the chord. You can do the whole chord or just the C underneath it. I'm harmonizing in one hand. So because that gets the harmony up here, that frees up my left hand to play an independent bass line. So if you're more advanced, think about getting the chords up into your right hand. All right, we got one more step of the three. So far we've done pick out the melody, add chords, and then add a little style. And of course there are hundreds of styles in, I don't know if there are hundreds. There are probably, I don't know, let's say 20 sort of stock styles that pianists ought to know. And a lot of them I put in my That's Jazz series. So I'll show you briefly. I have this, this is the Christmas supplemental book to my very popular That's Jazz series published by Chose Music. And each of these tunes has an improvisation challenge hooked with it, a little improvisation tip. This one actually has a built-in jazz solo that's written out. For those of you who aren't comfortable improvising yet, I'll just give a little taste of that. And it's all 100% notated. Let's go just to the last step, which is a touch on improvisation. Improvisation begins with embellishment. It's the hardest thing to do is to say to a kid, here's some chords, go improvise. It's easier to just sort of add a little variation, really, to a tune you already know. So let's take Good King Wenceslas. But we're going to add a little touches to it. So instead of doing this, I'm going to just do a simple embellishment, and that just have to do a plug. I talk about these very embellishments in Creative Chords and my That's Jazz method. The one I'm going to use is simply a neighbor note. So the note was C, 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 G, but I put a little D in there. C, D, C, G. It's a mental device. If you aren't hearing your embellishments right away, you can use a mental device and say, well, let me try that. C, D, C, I threw in that upper neighbor. Maybe I wanted a lower neighbor. C, B, C, G. Maybe I want to put a different neighbor on a different note. I'll try it on the G. G, A, G. So one of those is to keep the time and just stick in a neighbor note. Another thing you can do is just repeat notes. Instead of this, so simple. And now we're kind of rocking out. And another thing thing you can do, oh, I just did it, is to anticipate. Push some notes a little earlier instead of, so. One, two, and. So we've got that early note. All right. What should you do if somebody starts singing along? It's easy. You just plug in some stock styles. It's much easier for you because you don't have to play the melody. So some of the stock styles I actually put in a blog post, which I'm going to post later today. One of those is a rock feel. One of those is a jazzy swing feel. And the last one is a 50s feel. Like, oh, holy night, the stars are bright and shining. So my parting advice is this. If the beat's not steady, the tune's not ready. All of your bad notes, all of your wrong chord choices, all of the things that you already know are going to happen, don't matter if you keep the beat. It does. So let's just mess this up for a minute. That was the wrong chord. Did it really wreck the song? Not really, because I didn't freak out. Played a lot of junk in there, but it still worked. It still kind of gave me the Christmas spirit. Point is, it's just an improv music. It's just fun. It's not a recital. So just let it go and play what you think is close and laugh when you don't have it. My best advice is when you don't like what you played, smile. Just smile. Whoops. It came out in the wash. Totally wrong chords. Came out in the wash. It worked. So, just drop that classical thing about getting everything note right. It doesn't matter. Have fun. So, I hope you have a great, happy holidays. And until next time, enjoy your creative music making journey.